You are listening to the 43rd broadcast of TBR Radio's, the TBR History Hour. Last week's TBR History Hour had the highest ratings of any TBR radio program. On that show, our host, TBR contributing editor, Dr. Edward DeVries, took us on a trip down memory lane, with interview clips from the 90s, documenting that then-citizen Trump was already running for president. Trump, having established all of his 2016 talking points in 1987. Trump perfected those talking points in the 90s. On today's show, with just a little over a week to go before the election, Dr. Ed will play a series of clips from the 21st century, years 2000 to 2015. Donald Trump actually did run for president, as a member of the Reform Party, back in 2000. He remained active on the political scene through 2015. And of course in 2016, the Donald not only ran again for president. This is a tribute to number 45.
It's not a contest to, see who can get into the Harvard School of Business.
I am seriously considering running. Our country is being ridiculed all over the world.
For me, it's been a lot of fun, and it gives you a voice.
A little montage of clips. That was Donald Trump back in 2004. 2010 and 2014. It seems like throughout the 21st century, Donald Trump has been flirting with running for the presidency ever since his attempt in 2000 when he ran on the Reform Party ticket there, trying to get the Reform Party nomination. And it seemed like maybe Donald Trump just didn't let that go completely. So last week's TBR Radio Presents, the TBR History Hour, was the highest rated show. It drew more listeners than any other radio show in the history of TBR Radio, and so we're proud of that. And because it did, and because of the subject of that show, we're going to kind of continue the theme again this week. Back in August, we did a show, and it was Donald Trump campaigning for the office of President of the United States back in the 1980s. It was Trump on the Oprah Show. It was Trump on Letterman. It was Trump with Johnny Carson. It was Trump on Larry King Live on CNN. And as we established in that show, Trump had already mastered all of his talking points and established all of his talking points by the year 1987. But in the 90s, on last week's show, we showed how Trump kind of continued with those talking points, how he got better at addressing them, how he got more targeted with some things. And now we're going to start with the year 2000. And in the year 2000, Donald Trump is actually running for president. It just seemed like he was running for president in the 80s and 90s. In the year 2000, he was really running for president as the Reform Party candidate for president of the United States. The Reform Party, of course, being the party that was established by H. Ross Perot after his two attempts to run as an independent. So here we see Trump. Trump was very unconventional as a candidate in 2016, but he was a very conventional candidate in 2000. Now, his talking points were the same, but he was a lot more conventional in the way he went about delivering the message. And so we're going to start with Donald Trump on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
All right, my first guest says he's thinking about running for president as a Reform Party candidate. We invited him here tonight to see just how serious this young man is, ladies and gentlemen. He has a new book out called The America We Deserve. That sounds presidential. It'll be in store shelves by early January. Please welcome the next President of the United States, Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen. How you been?
Oh, so much press.
So much
press out there.
Now, but you look like you're having fun with it.
I am having fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I think I could do a good job, but I am enjoying it.
Now, whose idea was it? Did people come to you? Did you go to people? Where did this all start?
Well, an article was written in a magazine, a real estate magazine, about a great deal I did. And the writer said, Mr. Trump, would you ever think about running for president? And I said, well, I might. And they came out with a headline, not about the deal, but that I might consider. Right. And all of a sudden, I was inundated with press. And here I sit. Here I am. I mean, in front of the legendary Jay Leno.
I mean, have you thought about it before? I mean, have you ever been elected to anything? School president, fifth grade class?
Just the president, chairman, vice president, secretary, treasurer of my own company.
But that's a dictatorship.
That's a dictatorship. I agree.
See, this is democracy.
That's true. That is a total dictatorship.
You appoint yourself.
That's exactly
Now,
right.
do you feel you'll be able to restore dignity to the office of president?
Well, I think I would be. I mean, the country's really suffered from a lack of dignity over the last number of years, and I think I
everybody's
would.
making money.
That's right. Everyone's making money.
You
There's
got to
no
admit, the
question.
economy's pretty good.
The economy has been good, and I'm one of the folks that it's been very good to. And the economy has been good, and I think the economy can stay good with the right person going in for the next 4 years.
Now, they say a job like president requires a big ego. Now, do you think you can handle it?
I'm not sure my ego is big enough. That's one of the things which I can.
Really? Can I write that down?
You can write it.
You know, I think I see the next article headline. I'm not sure. I mean, what do you think you would do as president? I mean, you know, the president only makes $400,000 a year. That's a bad weekend in Vegas for you.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the MGM
You know, I
grand,
came
a couple
out-
of drinks, boom.
I came out with something that a lot of my rich friends aren't totally in favor of,
Right.
but it was a 14.25% tax on people with a net worth over $10 million. And what that does, you see, now not one of those folks clapping have a net worth over $10 million. But what that does is it virtually pays off the national debt, reduces taxes for the middle class, gets rid of the inheritance tax,
Yeah, but wait, but see,
saves Social Security.
but it seems to me, rich people just move their money offshore. They move it somewhere. It seems like you would do more harm than good. Like if it looked like next January that's going to happen, instead of keeping my money in the United States, or if I'm one of those people, I would just move it to the Caymans or somewhere like that.
They'd actually keep it here, Jay, because the economy would be so unbelievable. There'd be nothing like it. We'd have no debt as a country, and the economy would be so unbelievable, there'd be nothing like it. So I think they'd really keep it. I'd keep my money here. I have a $700 million tax to pay or something if that passed. Right. And not that I want to pay it, but again, rich save on inheritance, the country saves on Social Security, and everybody benefits.
Make Bill Gates pay the whole damn thing. And everybody else
he could almost, and he could almost.
What we do is, you move in, you nationalize Microsoft, you split it up, and everything's taken care of.
Sounds like a reasonable idea.
Now, how about your personal life? You know, when you're a candidate, they look into you, they scrutinize with a fine-tooth comb. Most presidents don't have, how many, 2 ex-wives?
2 ex-wives, that's right. They could have, but they haven't. No, I was married actually to 2 wonderful women.
Yeah.
And now I've had a very good time, I'd say, over the last period of time.
It sounds like you had a hell of a time. A very good time.
I didn't want to use that word, but it has been one hell of a time.
Now, would your past be a problem?
I don't think so. I think nowadays it's not, and who knows? We'll see.
Well, I know you don't drink, right?
I don't drink. I don't smoke. I never had a cup of coffee.
Never had a cup of coffee?
I never had drugs. I don't know what drugs are in terms of that.
Wow.
But, so that's the good news. However, I have dated.
That begs the question, why?
Well,
I see the people going, I'm going to never had a drink. What the hell's the matter with this?
That is a little scary in itself, but I haven't.
When Joe Sixpack never had a drink, what the hell is that?
It's just something I chose. You know, I had a brother who had a big problem with alcoholism.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
And it just really, he taught me a tremendous amount. And one thing he taught me is stay away from the booze. And it was very important to me. And I've stayed away, not for any other reason. That, and I just don't like it.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm lucky.
Now, how about a first lady? Would you hold a massive search?
Well, you know, I'm a great believer in the institution of marriage, believe it or not. Okay.
Really?
This could be the story, but I really am. I am a tremendous believer in the institution, and I think it's something that's fabulous if you get the right woman. If you get the wrong woman, it is...
Well, like if you got married in the White House, if you got married in the White House and got divorced, wouldn't she get like everything west of the Mississippi?
I don't know. She might get half the White House. No, you'd need a good prenup. You'd have to get a prenup to save the country.
How about some of the other candidates? Like now, McCain, this phony issue of his temper, which seems... I like a president.
Well, it's a big issue, but, you know, you're locked up for 5 or 6 years, and it's a pretty big issue, and it's become a big issue. I watched the other day, he was being interviewed, and the only question he got was that very question. So it has become...
Do you have a temper?
Not too much of a temper, believe it or not. No, I don't have too much
But
of a
I remember you saying in an article once, you believe in an eye for an eye.
That's true. I believe when somebody, and I was going to use a different word, but I think I can't on network television, but when somebody gets you, you want to get them. And I believe it. And, you know, maybe that makes me a bit... That's true. I've always believed it.
Disrespected. Donald Corleone. No, but being president, you'd have to be more diplomatic.
Well, you'd be diplomatic, and you tone it down a little bit. But the fact is that, I do believe in retribution.
Yeah. Well, how about, wouldn't everything you own be put in a trust? Yeah. That happened to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, everything he owned went in a trust. When he went back to private life again, everything was bankrupt.
Well, the trust wasn't too big to start off with. Yeah. The fact is that everything I own would be put in trust, and I have very capable people working for me, and they'd run it, and I hope they do a good job.
Now, how about the situation with President Clinton and Monica Lewinsky? What are your thoughts on that?
It wasn't great. I mean, a lot of bad choices there. I mean, I don't know where these folks came from, Linda Tripp and Monica and all of the folks, Paula Jones. I've never seen anything like it, and I'm sure the president wished he'd never seen anything like it. But you have some beauties in that deal. No, the whole thing...
I'm going to put that down. Some beauties in that deal. And the ego one.
It's a shame.
What do you think you should have done? Let's suppose, God forbid, not could ever happen, you were in that same situation.
Of course, it could never happen.
What would you have done? What should Clinton have done?
Well, he could have come clean. Mm-hmm. And you gave me that answer just before the show, so I'm very happy. No, he could have come clean, or he should have never answered the question. But answering the question...
But you had to, because he was subpoenaed.
No, I know, but his lawyers could have fought a little bit harder. I think his lawyers did an absolutely atrocious, terrible job. Yeah. So they could have fought a little bit harder, maybe not to have to answer that question. But it's pretty tough answering that question with your wife sitting at home. It's a tough question. Did you have an affair with this woman? And you're saying, oh, my God, can you imagine this? So your wife is home. Hillary's had a hard time of it, let's face it. This could not have been 3 years of fun for Hillary.
Oh, no. Well, how about Hillary and Rudy Giuliani in New York? What do you got there?
Well, I'm a big fan of Rudy. Right. He's been the greatest mayor that New York's ever had. I support Rudy because he's been a great mayor.
No New York mayor has ever gone on to higher office.
But I think Rudy will.
You think?
And I like Hillary, too. I like her very much. As a person, I like her very much. But I think Rudy's been the best mayor we've ever had. The city is the hottest city in the world right now. And he's been at the helm, and I think somebody should be rewarded for that.
Now, how about Pat Buchanan? What do you think of that? Now, he seems to be the guy you'd have to battle.
Well, that's true. He's anti-Semitic. He's anti-black. He obviously has been having a love affair with Adolf Hitler in some form, and I just can't imagine this guy.
Wait, I don't want you to hold back. Give me how you feel now. I mean, these coy answers.
I can't imagine, that Pat is going to be very seriously taken as a candidate.
But he's smart. He's a good debater.
He's a smart guy.
He's a very bright guy.
Perhaps he's a good debater, but he's got a lot of bad stuff out there.
Now, when will you decide for sure when you're going to run?
Probably in the month of February.
The month of February.
And if I decide, it'll be based on the fact that I feel in my gut, in my heart, that I can win.
Yeah.
And if I think I can win, I'll decide, and I think I do a good job. I think I'd save a lot of people a lot of grief.
Well, I appreciate the honest answers. Thanks for the straightforward answer. You can come back here and announce it.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen, this is the book right here. The America We Deserve. Be right back with Rob Schneider right after this.
Your web browser and type in www.barnesreview.org and discover the Barnes Review magazine. In the Barnes Review, you will read vignettes of man, from the prehistoric to the very recent, from forgotten races and civilizations to first-person accounts of World War II and the late Cold War. There is no more interesting magazine published today, nor a more significant and important subject than real history. So visit www.barnesreview.org and subscribe to the Barnes Review. You can subscribe to receive the Barnes Review magazine in its print form, or in convenient electronic delivery. Our host has been a subscriber to both formats for years. So visit www.barnesreview.org and subscribe to the Barnes Review.
Tonight Show was filmed out in California, but they filmed the Late Show with David Letterman right in Donald Trump's own New York City, the studio being just right down the road there from Trump's penthouse there in Trump Tower. And so Donald Trump was a regular on David Letterman's Tonight Show, and here are just a few clips, if you will, from some of those appearances throughout the 2000s.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Our first guest tonight is America's favorite cutthroat real estate mogul. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Donald Trump. Oh, Donald!
The
politicians killed the real estate industry, and we've done great.
Now, see, I don't know what that means when you say the politicians killed the...
Again, I watch what happened with the real estate industry, done by the politicians to a large extent, and I'm very disappointed in the president for not having stopped it. The economy cannot come back unless the real estate industry comes back, and unless they put the incentives back into real estate. And the politicians are starting to find that. There's a lot of different things happening, and you could see some real movement in that. But I am very disappointed with the administration, what they allowed to happen to this industry. It fuels every other industry.
Okay, but let's get back to the question.
I think the country is so down. I think we're in such a deep depression, and nobody wants to talk about it. The stock market's up. If the stock market went down, then we are officially in a depression in this country. And so many people are disgusted with what's happened. People that own homes, their homes are worth 1/2, they're worth 1/3. You have a nice house, by the way.
Well, thank you very much.
A woman was down there.
But again, would you vote for him? A man knowing what you know of real estate and finance?
I would conceivably vote. I mean, I'd want to see some of his positions. He hasn't made them clear, but I certainly would. I know him. He's a hell of a guy. He's a good guy.
Could you take him in a fight? Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest claims to be back and better than ever. If that's true, why is he here? Please welcome to the program the always interesting, dynamic Donald Trump. How you doing?
Hello, David.
Nice to see you.
How are you?
I guess it was Monday or Tuesday. You would know. I believe you have a new member of the family, another grandchild. Is it another little boy?
A little boy named Joseph from Ivanka.
Well, congratulations.
So we're very happy. And Jared.
Very nice.
That's great.
How many grandkids do you have?
This is number 6.
Number 6. Whoa. Wow, that's
a lot.
Yeah, but it's great, isn't it, to have a family like that?
The word grandfather I've never quite got. You know, it's my name. They call me Grandpop. But we have 6, and it's great.
What kind of relationship did you have with your father?
Really good. I mean, again, it was a very business. My father was a terrific guy. He was a wonderful man. Tough guy.
Tremendous businessman here in New York.
Wonderful business guy, and I learned so much from him. He was in Brooklyn and Queens, and I learned so much from him. But he really, I tell you, the relationship we developed was really when I went into business with him. He liked the job I did, and I think if he didn't, I'm not sure he would have liked me too much. He was all business. There was no games with Fred Trump, but a really good man. If there was somebody on the street that had a problem, boom, he'd give whatever he had in his pocket. Now, he's a good man.
I should know this. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do.
Which and which?
Well, I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. One of my brothers passed away, real good guy, Fred, a number of years ago. But I have one who's a federal judge, another sister, wonderful homemaker, and I have a brother, great guy, Robert.
A federal judge, that's pretty impressive.
That's right, right, on the appeals court.
And are they always after you for money? And when you were a kid, what kind of a kid were you? Were you, like you said, your dad was tough? Did you get good grades? Did you go to school?
I was a good student, but I was a brat. No question about that. And I mean, you could ask my sister, the judge. I was a little bratty, I guess, but I went to a military academy, New York Military Academy. And we had people at that school that were rough. They had a lot of staff sergeants. And, you know, those days, if you were out of line, it was fists. It was tough. It was things that today, if you ever did it, you go to jail. They put you in jail. I'm not sure that's the right thing. But that was a tough group of people. They were all drill sergeants, staff sergeants. And I'll never forget, the first time I went to New York Military Academy, I started speaking back to one of them, and it was not a pleasant experience. And you know what? I didn't do it anymore.
Right. But you're still a little bratty.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think we can all agree.
I think so.
I know you're not running for governor. Just tell them you're not running for governor.
Well, I'm probably not. I can really say I'm really definitely not. I have other things to do. I have a lot of things that are going on that are fabulous, and they have been. They have been
fabulous.
Well, I'm just enjoying. I love what I'm doing. We're doing Doral down in Miami.
Another big gig. Now that's an iconic golf resort, golf club.
It's 800 acres. I'm rebuilding it. I've literally blown it up. The Blue Monster, Tiger Woods won the tournament last year, and it's a great. You know, we have a world championship of golf. That's going to be exciting. I'm doing the old post office on Pennsylvania.
This is a beautiful structure. This is in Washington, D.C., is that correct? Let me see the picture of the post office.
Right.
Now, what year was that built? Is that pre-war?
That was in the 1880s.
1880s. Oh,
and the walls are literally, some of them 4 and 5 feet thick, solid granite. They don't make them like that.
And you bought that from whom? From the United States government?
United States government.
And do you mind telling me what you paid for it?
Well, it's a complicated formula, and it's sort of depending.
Just give me the number.
It's hard. It's hard. Very, very complicated. But we're going to build almost 300 rooms, super luxury hotel. like Washington, D.C. has never seen. I mean, it's a special building in the best location in Washington.
And when visitors, guests stay there, will they continue to sort mail?
We will. We'll have a special person at the front desk that does. It's amazing, though. We have these beautiful counters that we're reusing.
Yeah.
Where, they built
Probably
them beautiful.
marble this thick or something?
Thick, beautiful marble in perfect shape. And we're using, actually, some of the old surfaces. But
just give me a ballpark number. Forget the participation, forget the success. Just like a ballpark.
Well,
let me try and guess.
Go ahead.
This is the corner of what in Pennsylvania Avenue?
Well, it's right smack in the middle. I'll tell you what, between the White House, which you have a very good friend of yours living there, which is nice, and Congress. Right smack in the middle.
Prime real estate.
I mean, literally right smack in the middle.
I'm going to say this was at least $200 million.
Well, let's say less.
Less than $200 million?
Less than.
That's $100 million.
Well, let's say more.
Now, you're talking about your upbringing and your dad being a tough guy and you're learning how to be tough in business and stuff. Have you ever knowingly done business with what I like to call organized crime? Have they ever stopped by?
I've really tried to stay away from them as much as possible.
But have you ever had a case where a guy stopped by and said, Donald, we're going to handle the linens?
Growing up in New York and doing business in New York, I would say there might have been one of those characters along the way. But generally speaking, I like to stay away from that group.
Yeah, well, I think that goes without saying. But sometimes they don't let you stay away from them.
There's truth to that. But if you're smart, you can stay away. Mm-hmm. You have to stay away and just sort of lead your life. You don't want to get involved. Although I must say, I have met on occasion a few of those people. They happen to be very nice people. You just don't want to owe them money.
Yeah, I understand.
Don't owe them money.
But now, has anybody ever said, be ashamed if anything happened to this revolving door? Have you ever had anything?
I've sort of heard it a little bit before, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I've been there.
Yeah, we'd hate to mess up your hair. The government is back in business. They reopened it. Who wins, who loses, and who cares?
Well, there's a lot of truth. I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess. And somehow they have to get into them. They haven't done anything. All they've done is delayed it, as you said in your monologue, for 4 months.
Sure.
It's a 4-month delay. So let's see what happens. But there has to be something where they get into a room and make a deal. And a deal not good for them, but good for the country. We really need it badly.
When things are so fragile, don't they say, "Ooh, we better not monkey around now"?
Well, people have been discussing this with me for a while, and one of the things I say, you have to really like people to make the right kind of deal. You have to get along with them at least, or respect them. And if you look at the Republicans and the Democrats, the president and others, they all hate each other. They really do. They don't like each other. They don't respect each other. They're not into each other at all, and it's very, very tough. In the old days when you had Ronald Reagan, you had Tip O'Neill, you had all these guys.
Well,
they were on
opposite sides.
It's so interesting because they really liked each other.
Sure, they
were opposites, totally opposites.
They had a common purpose that they seemed to be working toward. Now, and again, I don't understand how the government works. Could the president at some point have said to the Democrats and to the Republicans, screw both of you, here's what's going to happen, impeach me, and just gone ahead and forced through legislation that would have made this not happen? Was that possible?
Well, they say legally no, but a lot of people I sort of thought he might do that, because at one point it looked like, was anything ever going to happen? So there are those that say, the scholars are saying, no, he doesn't have the right to do that. He doesn't have a legal right to do that. You could also say, well, you'll find out in about 3 years. But in the meantime, it's done.
Yeah.
But it's a mess in Washington and throughout the world, because I do business all over the world. I'm building all over the world and doing jobs all over the world. We really are being laughed at and scoffed at throughout the world. They're not respecting our country the way they used to. And they look back and they see this bedlam in Washington, and that's not a good thing.
Now when you say being laughed at and scoffed at, is this personally for you more than ever, or is this as the country?
Yeah. Well, always for me.
Always for you,
always.
Sure.
Always.
But, and is it that we just know more about this situation now than we did 50 years ago? And if we were ignorant, would things just be fine and we'd never know any difference?
Well, if you think about it, though, David, 50 years ago, they didn't have media like they have today.
Oh, it's the 24/7.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, I can imagine what went on 50 and 100 years ago, and maybe the same thing would have happened. So, in all fairness to Washington and the president and everybody else that's, not looking so good right now, if you looked back, if you had that camera on them full time, and now between Twitter and everything else, I mean, what's going on, I have a feeling they probably wouldn't have looked so good.
I think shenanigans early on.
Well, those are serious shenanigans.
Yeah, when this was a new country, my God.
You can imagine. That would have been a beauty.
Yeah, now, you've built a golf course in the Bronx. Now, explain this deal to me. What's the name of the golf course?
It's called Trump Links at Ferry Point, on the water, in the Bronx, 5 minutes outside of Manhattan. It was under construction for 27 years.
27 years?
Yes, and I took it over 12 months ago, 13 months ago, and I have to give Mike Bloomberg a lot of credit. He wanted this built. This was under construction during many mayoral administrations. For many years, 27 years. The cost was hundreds of millions of dollars was spent. I took it over about 13 months ago, and I really knocked heads, and we got it built, and it's now ready to open.
Okay, but why was it taking 27 years to build a damn
Well, there
golf
was a lot of incompetence.
And
there was probably...
Sure, yeah.
Probably or possibly, I don't know, but let's say there could have been a little corruption. Maybe.
Why don't you take over the Second Avenue subway? That'll never be finished.
That's been going
Take over that thing. Why don't you do that?
Well, let's go the subway to nowhere. You know that.
I know, but take it over and get it finished, for God's sakes, and then it'll be the Trump subway.
Well, then I might do it.
Have you had any dealings with the Russians?
Well, I've done a lot of business with the Russians.
They're commies, you know that.
Well,
they're commies.
Tough. They're smart, and they're tough, and they're not looking so dumb right now, are they?
Well, there's Vladimir Putin. Have you ever met the guy?
Tough guy. I met him once.
How you been otherwise?
I've been good.
This is the only thing on CBS right now.
Extra, read all about it.
If you're like me, and I'll bet you are, you like to be on the cutting edge of honest news and accurate information. 26 times a year, the American Free Press newspaper can be delivered to your door, packed with the kind of uncensored news that I know you're going to appreciate. If you're ever dissatisfied with your subscription to the American Free Press, their guarantee is that you just drop them an email and they will gladly refund the unused portion of your subscription. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.americanfreepress.net. Once again, www.americanfreepress.net. And find out about the American Free Press. Do it today.
Extra, read all about it.
Donald Trump was actually very popular on the talk show circuit for a number of years, especially because he was filming The Apprentice and then The Celebrity Apprentice during much of these years throughout the 2000s. And so not only his political views, not only Donald Trump the billionaire, and not only Donald Trump the socialite in New York City, but Donald Trump the star and I guess call him host of The Apprentice was also much in demand on the talk show circuit. And so here's some segments of Donald Trump appearing on Conan O'Brien's talk shows.
Well, first of all, happy holidays. Holidays are upon us. This brings up a question. You're Donald Trump. What does someone get you for Christmas? What do you know what I mean? What, like Midtown real estate?
Yeah, I like that. I really like that a lot. But
bullion, gold bullion, Kruger
Melania's giving me a baby, like your wife just gave you a baby.
Oh, very nice. You're having a baby. Congratulations.
And that's a good one.
Good.
That's about as good as it gets.
It's as good as it gets.
Really.
Midtown real estate's also pretty good, but yeah.
It is very good. It's been good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it continues.
Now, here's an interesting thing. You've been singing lately. You sing on Regis's Christmas CD. And then you also sang at the Emmys.
Competitively.
Yeah.
That was a competition with William Shatner and lots of others. And
yes.
It was called Emmy Idol.
Yes. A lot of people saw that, yeah.
Who won?
I can't remember.
Trump won.
Oh, Trump.
That was an audience video. And then with Regis...
You refer to yourself as Trump. Well, I like that.
Only in this book. But then with Regis, you know, who's better than Regis, right? And he said, would you just say this one line? And I did a line, and it was fine.
On his Christmas album. What song was it?
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This was a really good
right.
job. But his album's actually selling very well, and, you know, there's nobody like him. He's just a great guy. So I said, yes, absolutely. I get Zippo out of it, and...
Only you would talk about how you have no back end on a Christmas album.
I get nothing, but
I get
Regis.
Bug Kiss. I get nothing.
For Regis, we do things.
Okay, that's nice. Now, Regis, it's Regis. You got to do it for Regis. He calls me Conan.
Oh.
I've been on the air for 44 years now, and it's still Conan. Take care of that for me. You could push a button, and that would be taken care of.
I'm going to call him.
That's very ominous. I'm going to. You know, but you have your name on so many products now. Now there are Trump ringtones. Now ringtones, that's a big business, is it not?
Well, Warner came to me and they wanted me to do a ringtone where your phone rings and it'll say like, I'm Donald Trump and you better answer quickly and, you know, different things. Like there's 75 different, actually there's 75 different.
Are they all threatening like that?
Well, sort of, a little bit. They like it that way. You know, I'm actually
Pick
nice
up
guy,
your
but
phone
that's
or I'll kill you.
Yeah, that's the image. But I called up 50 Cent. Now, 50 Cent, who I didn't know, called me, and I called him up, and he wasn't there, and he had a Trump ringtone. Can you believe it? 50 Cent. It was great.
He can have any ringtone he wants, and he has a Trump ringtone.
He's got the top 3 records in the world, right? So he's got a Trump ringtone. So many people are getting the Trump
What's that
ringtone.
like when you call somebody and Trump answers? Doesn't that make you feel like you're losing your mind?
Honestly, it was very strange.
Do you ever start yelling at yourself on the phone?
Yeah, I was really surprised to see it, but it was great.
Okay, so you've done that. And you also have an online school. Is that correct?
Trump University, if you want to learn how to get rich.
Which raises the question, what kind of student were you?
Well, I was surprisingly good. I was a good student. I went to the Wharton School of Finance. I really liked school, and it taught me beyond everything else confidence. You know, you're with all these geniuses, and it's the best business school, and you do well against all of these smart guys. And, you know, you get out of school, and at least you know you're smart. And it was a great school for me. So I'm a big believer in education, and I was a pretty good student.
I asked for a reason because I heard that earlier, 2nd grade, you were difficult. You had trouble with authority.
I did. I had trouble with authority.
Is it not true that you once punched your music teacher? Is that true?
No, it's not totally true, but you know, we got into a skirmish. No, we got into a skirmish. I didn't like my music teacher. We got into a skirmish, and my parents decided we better send him to military academy. So I went to a military academy, New York Military Academy, and it was great. I liked it.
It shaped you up and it gave you
really
respect for authority.
I mean, we had tough sergeants, drill sergeants, and they didn't mess around. And it taught me a little bit about life. It was good.
Let's first of all talk about The Apprentice, which is an important thing to discuss. You have been very successful for you this show, and you've made a big change. Your trademark you fired, okay? Right. You used to do what we call the Cobra,
right?
I think, which is
you always do the Cobra.
Yeah,
right?
you always
you're
fired, okay?
Right.
You're fired, you know, and you would do the Cobra, and it's always worked for you. And then, like Tiger Woods changing his swing, you decide to get rid of the Cobra, and what do you have now?
Well, you know, I used the Cobra only once, but so many people liked it, and it's just not a natural thing to do. And it was.
I love it. I just find it very. I do it to people on the street, Mr. Trump. I walk around and I attack people with the Cobra.
I know. It was funny. It was so natural for this one show.
Right. Stop it soon.
That's scary, right?
Yeah.
But it was so natural for that one show. It was really a bad particular person.
Right.
And I was sitting there and I was slumped over and I said, "You're fired."
Right.
And it was just natural.
Right.
I've tried it since, and it just doesn't work like you're fired. In other words, you're fired.
You probably started thinking about it. When you think about the Cobra, it gets. Well,
so I've actually used it only once, as you know, in 4 years, 4 seasons.
I see.
And it's been really good.
And
but
now you do this kind of thing. You do that.
And now I do this because that's more natural. But I think I'll get back to one more Cobra.
Throw in one more Cobra just for me.
Before I kick the bucket.
Welcome to the Christendom curriculum. You know, every parent who decides to homeschool wants to secure a great education for their child, while also saving time and money. But these days, many parents have another concern. They also want a homeschool curriculum without all the multiculturalist, politically correct diversity doctrine that's really little more than a thin disguise for an anti-Christian, anti-American, and anti-Western civilization bias. Now there is such a curriculum. The Christendom curriculum gives your children a complete education in Bible, history, literature, and more, focusing on the classic academic skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. But we also tell the story of Christendom, the story of the Christian nations, especially as Christ's kingdom has been historically manifest in the nations of Europe and America. And we do so without apology. The Christendom curriculum is the only Christian nationalist homeschool program you'll find. We support the right of the European and American peoples to their historic Christian cultures against the globalist leftists who want to destroy those cultures. Not only that, but we provide assigned reading courses for various hot-button subjects in our current culture wars, including feminism, social justice, and cultural Marxism, among others. These reading courses will teach your kids how to survive a social justice warrior attack, how to debate with leftists on social media, how to reform their local churches and communities, and more. We're living in a time of tremendous historical and social change. Christians have the opportunity now to begin building the culture and civilization of the next 1,000 years and beyond. It's an exciting time to be alive. So if you want to help raise the next generation of culture warriors, if you want your children to grow up with a love for Christ's kingdom and for their own nation, while at the same time learning how to defend America and rebuild the West, the easy-to-use Christendom curriculum is for you. Click the Learn More button to get in on the action. And thanks for listening.
Throughout the 2000s, Donald Trump was a regular on Larry King's CNN show. And one of the interviews that I thought was very revealing was one where it was right after he and Melania had been married. It was in 2005. And Larry King talked to Melania as much or more as she did to Donald, and she asked him some questions that her answers really kind of led us into the personality of and the character of her husband, Donald Trump. So here's a little collection of clips from the Larry King shows, and I'm going to have a long segment here, and it's going to be Larry King talking with Melania Trump.
Running for the presidency.
Well, I didn't consider it long. I mean, I had a group. They did a poll, and the poll came.
You were on
out.
our show once.
I did a favor for a friend of mine who was in New Hampshire. He went to the Wharton School of Finance. He said, Donald, would you come up and make a speech to a business group? I came up to New Hampshire as a favor to him. I made a speech, and everyone thought I was running for president. And then they did a poll.
You didn't say I'm not.
No, I kept it going for about 2 weeks.
You did.
Yeah, but I wasn't running. I love what I do. I think we have some good people.
It's going to be a close election.
I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be John Kerry against Bush. I know them both. They're both good guys, and I think it's going to be a very close race.
Donald Trump, I have a question for you. I'm here at Georgetown University, and all of us want to know if your hair is real, or if it's a toupee, or if it's a comb-over, or if it's some sort of, like, dyed amalgamation or mix of one of the above.
Most asked questions in America. Let's start first.
Come on, let's go. Come here.
Right. It is not a toupee. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Will you please inform the public?
It's not a toupee. Now hold on. Lean forward a little. It's not a toupee. It is not a comb over.
Don't mess it up too much.
No, it's not a comb over. But
it's really not that much of a comb over. But I get killed in this hair. I'm getting killed.
Why?
I think the show has gotten great reviews. I've gotten great reviews. Everything's gotten great reviews except for one thing: my hair.
Okay.
Gets bad reviews.
What do you make of it?
Now, I'm looking at it now. It's a mess.
You've always, as long as I've known you, you've combed it that way.
I sort of comb it that way.
Do you comb it?
I do. I comb it. You know what I do? I take a shower, I wash it, I then comb it, I then set it, and then I spray it, and it's good for the day. But I'm getting killed on my hair.
Are you thinking, make news here, Donald,
Go ahead.
Changing it?
Well, if I did, I think Mark wouldn't let me because the ratings would probably go way down. Do you agree with that, Mark? The ratings would go down, and he'd say, please go back to your old hairstyle.
So that's the reason. No personal desire to change.
No, I don't care. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I don't think so. I mean, it's worked.
It's different.
Yeah, I don't feel it's even different. It's been the way I've sort of always combed it. But
you're in California. Hello.
It can't be good. It's certainly not my strength. There's nothing like a good marriage, and there's nothing like having children. I have 4 great children. If you have the money, having children is great. Now, I know Melania. I'm not going to be doing the diapers. I'm not going to be making the food. I may never even see the kids, frankly. Okay? No, she will be an unbelievable mother. I'll be a good father, but I'll be,
How do you know
doing my deals.
You know it.
Oh, her?
Yeah.
She'll be an amazing mother. I have no doubt about that. She'll be an amazing mother.
Have you been back to Slovenia?
I've been in Slovenia 2 years ago.
Did you go?
Yes, I was there about 13 minutes. No, it's a beautiful country. I landed, said, hi, Mom, hi, Dad, bye, boom.
Let's show the ring. Can we get a close-up of the ring, and Donald will tell us. We're back with the Trumps, Donald and Melania. Okay, is he a control freak?
I don't think he's a control freak. He's perfectionist.
No, that's a slight difference. Does he make demands?
I don't think so. Maybe he makes demands in his business because he needs to. He's kind of a general. He needs to, have people in line, but not at home. We are very equal in the relationship, and that's very important. To marry a man like Donald is, you need to know who you are, and you need to be very strong and smart, and he needs to know that he could rely on me sometimes, and we share a lot of stuff together. I don't think he's control freak at all.
Does he bring work home?
Yes, sometimes, but he's working all the time. Saturdays, Sundays, he's playing golf, he's working all the time.
Doesn't it bother you?
No, it's his passion. He loves it. It doesn't bother me. I don't want to change him. I don't want, to say, come home and, be with me. I don't want to change him. I want to give him a space, and I think that's very important in the relationship.
Because you used to tell me the one thing that troubled you about marriage was the feeling that you have to give up some of yourself, that you can't be the workaholic you are because of the demands of the nature of a relationship.
Yeah, I don't consider myself a workaholic. I mean, I work, but it's not work. It's like you. I mean, I love what I do, so it's no longer work. It's not like work. I mean, work to me is going on a 2-week vacation. If somebody said you have to go away for 2 weeks, you're going to Africa on a safari, there's not going to be any phones, you know what? You get me out of here, right? So that's, to me, like, that would be work. But what Melania is so good at, we just have this natural relationship. It's like my mother and father. They were married 63 years. I've always heard you have to work at a good relationship. My father didn't work at a good relationship. He went home, he had dinner, he went to bed, he took it easy, he watched television. My mother did the same thing. She cooked them dinner. And it was just one of those things. It wasn't work. But I always heard you have to work at a relationship.
You're not working at this.
No, because, look, I work very hard from early in the morning till late in the evening. I don't want to go home and have to work at a relationship. I mean, that's it. A relationship we have to work at it, in my opinion, doesn't work. So maybe I'm wrong.
Do you cook?
I cook sometimes. When we stay home and something very fast, and but we are out most of the time, so I don't really have time to cook.
What is it like to have everything economically? By that I mean, you go down Fifth Avenue, you look in a window, like something, you can buy it. What's it like?
Well,
you don't have any financial pressure.
Yes, but you don't, I grew up, you always, taking care of the money. You're not like a, big spender, and you're saying like, okay, I will buy it even if I don't like it for 100%. You really need to love it that you buy it.
Oh, so you're not just shop to shop.
I'm not just shop to shop. It's
She
just
has never taken advantage of that situation. Okay, as many women would have, frankly. I mean, she's not one that sees a beautiful something in a Fifth Avenue or Madison Avenue window and said, I'm going to get it, or please get it. It's not her thing.
I made a lot of money myself, so it's like I know how it's to work and what money means. So it's not that I will say, okay, now I will have the latest bag, I want that bag, and then in 1 month that bag will be in the closet inside, that it's not even, it's kind of funny if you have that bag. It's like not in fashion. I'm not into that.
There's a very nice side of you, generous, nice side of you, and I'll ask her to tell about it. What don't we know about him?
What do we know?
What would the public not know about him?
Not know. Amazing heart. He likes to help people. He has friends. He's loyal to it. He is great sense of humor. Great sense of humor. And I think, people know him more since The Apprentice, the way he is. He cares about people.
I had a friend.
She's doing a very good job tonight, by the way.
Yes, she is. I had a friend tell me
Thank you.
that if he had a problem, he would call you. Why don't you let that out more?
Well, I think the press doesn't really like hearing that, to be honest with you. I mean, I do a lot of things, and I don't like to talk about them, but they'd much rather see me, beating someone up than being nice to somebody. It fits the image better for them. And I think that's fine. It doesn't matter. But I love to help people. I do. I love helping people. There's nothing better. There's nothing that makes me feel
reward,
better. Yeah. But I don't think that's the image that the press really wants from me. They develop sort of an image for somebody, and that's what they want to go with. And I think that's probably one of the reasons The Apprentice did so well. And which is interesting about The Apprentice is that I fire people. That's what I do. I fire people.
You do a mean thing.
No, I do a mean thing, and everyone
Firing
thinks I'm
is
so
mean.
much nicer than before. They used to think that I was really this horrible, flame-throwing, terrible tyrant, right? Now I go on a television show where basically what I do is I fire people, and everyone thinks I'm such a nice guy, which tells you what a bad image I had before the Apprentice.
Hello, I'm Tom Strain, Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. The Confederate flag, Confederate symbols, and the reputation of our Confederate ancestors has come under attack. The Sons of Confederate Veterans is actively fending off our detractors, but there is only so much that we can do. We need your help. Contact your local, state, and national elected politicians and tell them that you will not tolerate these attacks on our heritage. You can also visit scv.org, download an application to join us in our fight to preserve our Southern heritage. Visit scv.org today. If you don't have a Confederate ancestor and you are tired of American history disappearing, you can assist us by becoming a friend of the SCV. Please visit scvheritagedefense.org and make a donation to the Heritage Defense Fund. We hope that you will join us in the fight to defend the Confederate soldiers' good name.
Some people who know me well know that I personally credit myself for the Trump presidency, and that is because every year, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, every year in June, I would send Donald Trump a birthday card, and within it would be a letter. And in that letter, I would encourage Donald Trump to run for president once again. And finally, in 2015, he took my advice, and he sought the Republican nomination, and of course he won, and he is now the 45th president of the United States. And so I personally credit myself with that. But what got me to decide that I should press Donald Trump to run for president of the United States was an interview that he did on CNN back in 2011 with Piers Morgan. And this was back before CNN was as politicized as it is today. The fact that Donald Trump could be so outspokenly in opposition to Barack Obama, and yet CNN give him such a friendly interview. It's amazing. They certainly wouldn't do that today.
Well, I thought, I'm a Republican. I'm a very good Republican, but I thought Bush was a terrible president. I thought he was a terrible leader. The country had no spirit. And ultimately, he did so badly at the end that we have Obama. That's what we have. I mean, that was a gift from President Bush. I thought Clinton actually
You're not a fan of the president?
No, I've never been a fan because, look, I am the most militant person there is. I'm a big war guy in terms of I want total defense. I want perhaps an increase in defense spending, okay? But you don't attack the wrong country. Iraq did not knock down the World Trade Center. And as it turned out, he did attack the wrong country. And frankly, they used to kill terrorists in Iraq. You could not be a terrorism and last a day in Iraq. Now it's the Harvard, it's the breeding ground for terrorism. I mean, everybody that wants to be a terrorist, they go to Iraq, they go to Afghanistan, they go to the places where we are. The fact is, Bush, I thought, was not good. Clinton was a good president, but it was so marred with this whole Monica thing. I mean, he's a friend of mine. He's a lovely guy. He's a great guy. I really like him, but I thought they treated him very, very harshly. Absolutely.
And yet he's popular now, more popular than he's ever been.
He's more popular. That's because he's a quality guy. He really is. He's a quality guy. And he's a Democrat, but he's a quality guy. He's also a member of my golf club.
What is your view of President Obama right now?
I think he's a nice man. I think he's in over his head. It's amazing the way he got the job. I respect him for getting the job, but it's amazing the way he got the job. He signed up people on street corners in Chicago. All of a sudden, he's the president of the United States.
I mean, he got a hell of a shellacking, as he put it, in the midterms, but his ratings right now, mid-50s, are significantly higher than Ronald Reagan and President Clinton at the same time of their administration. So he's doing pretty well, actually.
Well, the fact is he is doing well, and the Republicans have let him back into the game because during the lame duck session, I don't know what happened with the Republicans. I don't know who was leading them, but they totally gave him credibility. He was Jimmy Carter, and now he's the Phoenix.
But is this a
Let's see what
problem?
happens.
Who is leading the Republicans, and who should be?
I don't think there is a leader right now of the candidates. Romney, I guess, would be somebody that people are thinking about, but it's not resonating. Sarah Palin is somebody that I happen to like. I just don't think she can win the election, and a lot of people agree. She can win the primary perhaps, but she can't win the election. I can tell you, Obama is dying to run against Sarah Palin, and you can't do that again as a Republican Party. You can't put somebody like in Delaware, Christine O'Donnell, where she goes in and she beats somebody that would have won by 15 points. She beats him in the primary, and then she gets killed in the election.
Is this precisely why you're so tempted to run?
Well, I am tempted to run, but I think the primary reason I'm tempted, I guess, yes, I think I could win. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. I'm not doing it to come in fourth place and really do a great job as a businessman. You know, in theory, I shouldn't be able to win, because they've always said somebody with great accomplishment, somebody who's done many, many deals. I've done hundreds and hundreds of deals, and I've beaten a lot of people. I mean, I'm not saying it bragging. I beat a lot of people. And those guys are not nice guys, and I have lots of enemies and lots of different things. And I've always heard where people like me cannot win because there's too many enemies. But whether it's me or somebody else, you need a person like me to run this country for a while, because we have to get this country back so that we're respected again. We have to get this country back so that this country is making the big profits, not China, not India. I mean, American Express, you call up your American Express card, the people are based in India that answer the phone. What's going on? Our people can't answer a phone? So we have all of this outsourcing to countries all over the world. In the meantime, we have...
But I mean, Tom,
we have really an 18% unemployment, not 9%. We have an 18% unemployment.
I get what you're saying, but aren't you being, unusually for you, quite defensive about this? I mean, isn't there a way of looking at this?
Defensive?
Yeah. But I know you're being aggressive, but it's kind of passive aggression, because actually isn't the way to deal with this the way that you would if it was your company? You go on the attack.
Well, I would do that.
You wouldn't sit there going, well, this is all unfair. You go, you know something? Right, shirt sleeves up, let's go get it. What would you do to fix America? Put aside the China, the trade issue for one moment. There's something inherently wrong with the system in this country, which led to the financial crisis, isn't there? 10% of Americans are unemployed, probably more, as you say. What's the answer here? You're a great employer. Tell me how we're going to sort this.
Well, for one thing, we're protecting the world. Why are we protecting South Korea without being paid? Okay? They're a competitor. They make a tremendous amount of money off of us. They sell their televisions, everything else. Why are we protecting South Korea? We just signed a horrible trade agreement with South Korea. They weren't going to sign it until North Korea lobbed a couple of bombs over there. Then they called. They said, oh, we'd like to sign the trade. You're a great partner. You're a great partner. And we stupidly send the SS George Washington, the most incredible aircraft carrier I've ever seen, and 17 destroyers right into North Korea. Why aren't they paying us? I mean, why are we protecting them? They make hundreds of billions of dollars of profits against the United States. You know, one of the great ones, 52 million. I don't know how many of the folks in the audience see this, but a few months ago, 52 million in cash in a briefcase was sent to Afghanistan. You know that. It ended up in Dubai, 52 million. Now, you know, the 52 million was actually 100 million probably. But, you know, somebody stole it along the way, whether it's a soldier. I want to know, who is the colonel or the general or whoever it is that approved 52 million in cash? It definitely wasn't 52. I guarantee it was more.
If you were president, would you take all American troops out of Afghanistan and Iraq now?
Well, Iraq, we shouldn't have been there, and I get them out real fast. Afghanistan is not the bigger problem. The bigger problem is Pakistan. You have to know, you know, when you fight a battle, you have to know who to fight. Pakistan probably has Osama bin Laden. Now think of it. You have a 6'6" Arab, and we can't find him, who's on a dialysis machine, and we can't find him. You tell me this, with all our so-called intelligence and everything else, guy's 6'6", pretty unusual, right? We can't find Osama bin Laden. There's something wrong. We give hundreds of billions of dollars to Pakistan, and they're probably housing him. He may be housed, frankly, in Saudi Arabia, because you think Saudi Arabia's our friend. I mean, nobody hurts us like Saudi with the fuel prices.
What's interesting on Saudi Arabia, as I mentioned to you tonight, there's other breaking news, is that the King of Saudi Arabia has been very firm with President Obama, basically telling him to leave off Mubarak and, you know, keep our big noses out of it, allegedly. So what do you think of that situation that's developing, where you're beginning to see the old order in the Middle East standing up to America and saying, this is our business, not yours?
They're standing up for the first time because they don't respect us anymore. They didn't used to stand up. They're standing up now because they didn't respect. They're standing up now because they can do anything they want. You have to go over there and see some of the airports that they're building. They make Kennedy Airport look like it's third world country. They make LaGuardia. I land at LaGuardia, and then I go into Abu Dhabi, and I go into Qatar. I go into these airports. It's like the most incredible things you've ever seen. We're like a third world country, and they wouldn't be there. Look at Kuwait. Saddam Hussein attacks Kuwait. We then go in, get him out. We lose lives. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars. We put out Red Adair. We put out all the oil well fires, and he said all the oil wells. We hand them back the country. Now they don't invest in the United States because you know why? They say the return on investment's not good enough. We're not going to invest in it.
Maybe they have a point. And also, here's the other point. Companies like General Motors, companies like Coca-Cola are all investing heavily in places like China, and they're doing very well out of it. Isn't the answer to go where the business enemy is and take them on at their own game and make money out of them? Isn't that what you would do instinctively?
I think it's great. But if you look at what happened to General Electric, what happened to them with technology, where they had to give up all their technology to China, where they have to build plants in China, where they have to do all of these things. Hey, I like the Chinese. I'm fine with the Chinese. And if I were them, I'd be doing the same thing if I could get away with it. We can't let them continue to get away with it.
What are the other problems here, though? I mean, you saw the disintegration of the financial system. You can't just blame foreign competition here. What was wrong with the system here that should be now put right properly?
Well, look, you're always going to have problems with financial systems. I went to the Wharton School of Finance, which is the best business school probably in the world. I dealt with people that were super brilliant people. I know how smart they are. Regulations, I mean, these people don't know what a regulation is, and they find ways around them. You know, you have really smart guys writing regulations, but you have smarter guys figuring out how to beat the regulations.
The same bankers that got us into the mess now be allowed, in regulation way, to be awarding themselves huge bonuses again?
Well, I mean, look what happened with Chase today. I mean, they got caught for taking advantage of military and soldiers that are in Afghanistan and Iraq and taking advantage of them. I think it's terrible. What Chase has done, I think, is terrible. And I think what the banks is doing right now, they took all the money, the taxpayer money, and if you go in, if anybody in this audience wants a home loan, you're not going to get it, okay? You're not going to get it.
Because they're awarding themselves millions of dollars in bonuses.
And one of the things...
I think it's scandalous.
I think it's terrible. And one of the things, and you know what, I'm saying that, and I really do, I believe it's terrible. They took all of this money to stay solvent. They're taking big bonuses. But here's the bigger problem. The big picture problem is they're not loaning the money. There's millions of empty homes because nobody can go out and get a mortgage.
Here's a tweet I want you to respond to. It's a great address, by the way. Kick a Snowflake is the tweeter.
I like
As President Trump, who would be the first person you'd say you're fired to?
Well, I mean, they want me to say, look, you know, I have had so much.
Who do they want you to say?
Well, they want me to say Obama.
Well, if you're president, he's already gone.
That's it.
Yeah. Who's the number one bad guy right now you would fire in America?
Well, can I be honest? I don't want to say. There's so many of them. There really are. There are so many of them. You look at a Department of Education. It goes for blocks and blocks and blocks. So education should really be, I mean, we have to like a little bit of supervision.
So you wouldn't argue, would you?
Education should be a local thing. It should be a state
Well, I was going to mention education to you, because last word with the Chinese, isn't the reality with them that they are educating their people better now than America is doing? And that's why they're also jumping ahead. Isn't that true?
And you know where they're educating a lot of their people? At our schools. It's the most amazing thing. They come over, they learn, they go to Harvard, they go to Wharton, they go to Yale, they go to the best schools, and then we force them to leave.
Okay. Are you ever going to retire?
No. It's funny. Real estate people never retire. They just don't. Everyone in my business, you know, I used to be the youngest in the business. I was pretty good right from the beginning. I really did a good job. The Convention Center, the Grand Hyatt Hotel, lots of jobs, big jobs at a very early age, a very young age. And I'd watch these guys, and they were in their 70s, 80s, 90s, Harry Helmsley. They were all much older people. And they never retire. Real estate people love what they do, you know. And I think, you know what it is? We build beautiful buildings, and that makes up for the fact that the face is starting to fall. That's great. Very good.
So we are now out of time for this week's TBR Radio Presents, the TBR History Hour. I hope that this stroll down memory lane, here as we've looked at the 2000s, 2000 to 2015, really we kind of ended in 2011. I think actually we made it 2014. I don't think we actually made it into 15. I had some video clip of Trump in 2015 that we were going to play for you, but we've just run out of time. And so I hope that it encourages you to go out there and vote to reelect number 45. Because God forbid the Democrats end up in the Oval Office and in control of both houses of Congress. Might as well move to Cuba, folks, because at least in Cuba we would know we would be living under a Marxist regime. Anyways, I want to encourage you to go to our website, www.barnesreview.org. As here in about a week or so, the November-December issue of the Barnes Review will be coming up, and you'll want to get your hands upon it. Want to remind you that we will be back here again next week, same time, same place. We're going to do it again. Until then, I'm going to leave you with Donald Trump giving what will hopefully be the final words on Joe Biden's 47-year career in politics.
You're fired. 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 You're fired.